Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine with Behind the Markets. Happy Monday. Today's Monday, March 2nd. And what else am I going to talk about today but the activity this weekend, the war basically that we started with Iran. I've spent the whole weekend talking to friends of mine. A lot of my friends are diehard MAGA isolationists. They are going berserk about this. They say, the president has gone out and said that we're doing this. The objective is to free the Iraq, so they have freedom. So they're having some PTSD. What is this? Operation Iranian Freedom, I've heard this weekend. I've also heard, do we suddenly care about the freedom of everyday Iranians? Why don't we just leave them alone? So I've heard some funny comments, and I'd like to postulate something a little bit differently here and give you 6 reasons why this could make a lot of sense. And if you pull the camera back out a little bit from the globe, from the Middle East, right here, you pull the camera back a little bit here, you get a bigger geopolitical picture that involves Venezuela and China. So if you recall, the president's going to meet the Chinese in a couple of months, basically to cut a deal. And I think that actually controlling oil supplies, Venezuela and Iran are big producers of oil for China. So I think we gain economic leverage over China by controlling their oil supplies. That's the first reason. I think the second reason is to try to stop them from executing their plan to invade Taiwan by 2027. This is also a big deal. 3, the third reason I think that the president would want this war geopolitically, when you look at the entire globe, is to have more control of the energy tap needed to win the AI race, of course. 4th, I think that another 4th reason the president would want this kind of war is to use cheap Iranian oil as an incentive to our European allies to push back against the green push that they do, the Green New Deal, this green energy push. A lot of cheap Iranian oil will help that. 5th reason that I could see this making sense is to gain leverage on Russia, basically by replacing the energy they sell to Europe with the energy Iran would sell to Europe in a new world. And of course, number 6 is to stop them from getting nuclear weapons, which, according to the president, we blew up, and I think the word was obliterated their nuclear weapons program. Operation Iranian Freedom, I don't know if that works. If you tried to explain this to folks, that on a global scale, Iran is one tiny location that impacts a lot, it checks a lot of boxes on the chessboard. It's one of those rare pieces on a chessboard that can have lots of ripple effects, that gives you a lot of leverage. It's a big leverage point, especially when you're dealing with the tap. China buys a lot of Iranian oil. They buy Venezuela oil. And we basically, if they wanted to invade Taiwan, we basically now control a big chunk of their oil supply, which means that they would actually have to choose between an invasion of Taiwan and actually running their economy. That would be a very difficult choice for them to make. Also, offering Europe, we are very concerned about China flooding the European market with EVs. And for us to actually get Europe on our side, it makes a lot of sense for us to actually be able to say, we will give you this cheap oil, we will replace Russia, or it just gives us leverage against Russia to say, stop this war with Ukraine, or you will forever lose Europe as a customer. We're just going to take this Iranian oil and just push it there. So there's a lot of benefit, geopolitical benefit to something like this when you pull the camera back. And I know a lot of my MAGA friends who are more isolationist, they don't appreciate this, but we don't live in a world alone, unfortunately. We live in a world where if we reduce our global footprint, if we just start to reduce our global footprint and just come back to the United States, we have an actual peer competitor who literally has the capacity to really put its footprint all around the world. And if they do, that leaves us basically at their beck and call. Now, there are several ways to skin this cat. Let's hope our president chose the right path in his approach to this. You break it, you own it. You don't want a situation where we're bogged down in a kind of a situation like this. And also, I don't know how regime change really works in Iran. Basically, for regime change to work, you have to get the generals aligned to your cause. Basically, you've got to get the generals aligned. This is why it worked in Venezuela. We obviously bought some people off in Venezuela. We obviously had the people that run their army on our side, or at least some of the generals, and I'm sure they quietly killed anybody who didn't want this thing. But in Iran, basically all the generals, they owe their allegiance to the Ayatollah. So for you to actually pull this off without the bloodiest, worst civil war you've ever seen, for you to pull this off, you need Iranian generals really on your side to restore order and to bring about a regime that is a little friendlier to America in our foreign policy and also takes our opinion on where that oil should be sent to. So this is a very big ask. I know you can topple the government there, but what do you replace it with? Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. We get Khomeini out of there, the Ayatollah out of there. Who replaces him? Is it a really crazy hardliner? So I hope, I'm sure that they have thought this through, even though the best laid plans, who knows? The best laid plans of mice and men, huh? Who knows? But this is a high stakes gambit by the president. And all we could do as Americans is wish him luck that this decision has increased our national security. Anyway, that's all I have for you today on this somber Monday. I pray for our men and women in uniform because this is a real thing here and it can get very ugly. Anyway, that's all I have. Have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow where we will talk about some of the oil ramifications and other knock-on effects of this action. Have a good day.